Tell us where you're watching from. Your comments help our stories reach more people. The bell above the coffee shop door chimed, and the room turned its head for 1 second. Ethan stepped in carefully. One hand held his crutch. The other steadied his small backpack. His leg brace clicked softly on the floor. He tried to smile anyway. The copper bean was bright and warm. Sunlight spilled through the windows. Cups clinked. People laughed. It looked like the kind of place where everyone belonged. Ethan walked to the first table. "Hi, can I sit here for a minute?" A man glanced up, then looked away. "Sorry, taken." Ethan nodded like it was fine. He moved to the next table. "Excuse me, may I share your table?" A woman pulled her purse closer and gave a tight smile. "We are waiting for someone." Ethan swallowed and kept going. At the counter, the barista noticed him. She hesitated. The line was long. She looked at her manager. The manager shook his head, not even speaking. Ethan's cheeks warmed. He stared at the menu board, pretending he was choosing. In the back corner sat a biker. Broad shoulders, sleeveless leather vest, tattoos that looked like old stories. His hair was tied back. He sipped plain coffee and read a worn paperback like the noise did not matter. Most people avoided that corner. Ethan took one breath, then another. He walked over, slower now. He stopped beside the empty chair. "Sir." The biker lifted his eyes. They were calm, not angry. Ethan's voice was small but steady. "Can I share this table? Just for a little while." A pause. The whole room felt quieter, even if no one stopped talking. The biker closed his book with one finger. He pushed the chair out gently with his boot. "Yeah, kid. Sit." Ethan blinked, surprised by how simple it was. "Thank you." He lowered himself into the chair and adjusted his crutch so it would not fall. His hands shook a little. He tried to hide it. The biker spoke softly, like he did not want to scare him. "What's your name?" "Ethan." "I'm Marcus." Ethan nodded. He stared at the table edge. His stomach made a small sound. He froze, embarrassed. Marcus didn't laugh. He didn't stare. He only signaled the barista. Sophie came over with a notepad and a careful smile. "What can I get you?" Marcus pointed to Ethan. "Hot chocolate. And a sandwich. Whatever's fresh." Ethan shook his head fast. "I don't want to be trouble." Marcus leaned in a little. "You're not trouble. You're a person." Ethan's eyes lifted. Something in his face softened, like a door opening. Across the room, the manager watched them. 2 customers whispered. One of them smirked, as if kindness was a joke. Marcus did not look away. He looked at Ethan. "Eat. Then tell me what brought you in here today." Ethan opened his mouth, then closed it. His fingers gripped the crutch. Outside, a black SUV rolled past the window and slowed, like it was searching. Ethan noticed it too. His shoulders tightened. Marcus noticed that, and Marcus turned the chair slightly, placing himself between Ethan and the door. The sandwich arrived warm. The cup of hot chocolate sent up gentle steam. Ethan stared at the food like it might disappear if he blinked. Marcus slid the plate closer. "It's okay. Go ahead." Ethan took a careful bite, then another. His shoulders slowly relaxed. He did not rush. He ate like he wanted to do everything right. Around them, the coffee shop returned to its usual noise. Chairs scraped. Cups clinked. Conversations picked up again. Marcus watched Ethan, not in a way that felt heavy, but in a way that felt steady. "You come here often?" Marcus asked. Ethan shook his head. "No, I just needed somewhere quiet." Marcus nodded. "Quiet can help." Ethan looked up at him. "You don't mind me sitting here?" Marcus met his eyes. "No, I don't." Ethan smiled. It was small but real. At the counter, Sophie glanced back at them. She smiled too, then went back to work. A man at a nearby table whispered something to his friend. They both glanced at Ethan, then at Marcus. The friend shrugged like it was not their business. Marcus noticed. He shifted slightly, making sure Ethan felt space and ease. Ethan finished half the sandwich and wiped his hands on a napkin. "Thank you for being nice to me." Marcus leaned back. Kindness is easy. People just forget sometimes. Ethan hesitated. I tried other tables. Marcus did not ask why. He already knew. They didn't hear me, Ethan continued. It's okay. I get that a lot. Marcus frowned, not angry, just thoughtful. You deserve to be heard. Ethan stared at his cup. My parents used to say that. Marcus looked at him carefully. They sound like good people. Ethan nodded. They were. A quiet moment passed. Outside, sunlight shifted across the window. The SUV was gone now. Marcus lowered his voice. You look like you're carrying a lot for someone your age. Ethan took a breath. I'm just trying to do my best. Marcus smiled gently. That's more than enough. Ethan's eyes grew brighter. He took another sip of chocolate. I like your bike, Ethan said. I saw it parked outside. Marcus chuckled. She's old, but she runs strong. Like you? Ethan asked. Marcus laughed softly. Something like that. A woman walked past their table and paused. You're doing a good thing, she said to Marcus quietly. Then she nodded at Ethan. Enjoy your drink. Ethan straightened a little in his chair. Marcus watched the change. See? You belong wherever you choose to sit. Ethan thought about that. The door chimed again. Someone new walked in. The room shifted just slightly. Marcus glanced up, then back to Ethan. You safe right now? Marcus asked. Ethan nodded, but his fingers tightened around the cup. Marcus noticed. You don't have to explain anything you're not ready to share. Ethan looked at him for a long moment. I'm glad I asked you. Marcus answered without hesitation. I'm glad you did too. The clock on the wall ticked softly. Outside, engines passed. Inside, something important had already changed. Ethan took another bite of his sandwich. For the first time that day, he was not looking for a place to go. He had found one. The afternoon light softened inside the cafe. Ethan leaned back in his chair. His shoulders were lower now. His breathing was calm. Marcus closed his book and rested his hands on the table. You want to tell me what today has been like for you? Ethan thought for a moment. It started busy. Everything felt loud. I needed somewhere to sit and think. Marcus nodded. Thinking needs space. Ethan traced a line on the table with his finger. Sometimes people look at me and decide things before I speak. Marcus listened. He did not interrupt. They think I need help before I ask, Ethan continued. Or they think I should not be there at all. Marcus leaned forward. That can make anyone feel small. Ethan looked up. It does. But I try not to let it stop me. Marcus smiled. That takes strength. A group near the window laughed. One of them glanced over again. This time they looked away quickly. Ethan noticed. They keep watching. Marcus replied calmly. They will get used to seeing people choose kindness. Sophie walked over with a refill. How's everything here? Good, Marcus said. She smiled at Ethan. You picked a good table. Ethan smiled back. When she left, Ethan spoke again. I like talking to you. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Why's that? You don't rush me, Ethan said. And you don't look uncomfortable. Marcus chuckled. Life taught me to slow down. Ethan tilted his head. Did it teach you on a bike? Marcus laughed softly. Sometimes. Ethan's eyes brightened. I always wanted to ride one. Marcus paused, choosing his words. There are many ways to move forward. Wheels are just one of them. Ethan nodded. I know. I just like imagining things. That's a good skill, Marcus said. Imagination builds futures. Another customer stood up and walked past them. That's a brave kid you've got there, the man said to Marcus. Then he nodded at Ethan. Keep that spirit. Ethan sat taller. Marcus watched him. See what happens when people pay attention? Ethan smiled. It feels nice. The cafe door opened again. A man stepped inside and looked around. His eyes paused on Ethan, then on Marcus. His expression was unsure. Ethan felt it. His hand moved toward his crutch. Marcus noticed and placed his hand on the table, steady and open. You're okay, he said quietly. The The man ordered coffee and moved on. The moment passed. Ethan let out a breath. "Thank you." "For what?" "For staying," Ethan said. Marcus met his eyes. "I'm right here." The clock ticked. Sunlight shifted again. Ethan finished his sandwich. "I should probably go soon." Marcus nodded. "Before you do, remember this." He pointed gently to Ethan's chest. "Nothing about you makes you less." Ethan swallowed. "My parents used to say something like that." Marcus smiled. "Sounds like they were wise." Ethan stood carefully. He adjusted his bag. Marcus stood too. "If you ever need a place to sit, you know this table." Ethan grinned. "I do." As Ethan turned toward the door, several people watched him leave. This time their faces looked different, and Ethan noticed. The door closed softly behind Ethan. Marcus stayed standing for a moment, watching through the glass as the boy paused on the sidewalk. Ethan adjusted his bag, took a breath, and walked on with steady steps. Marcus sat back down, but the cafe felt different now. Sophie came over again. "He's a good kid," she said. "He is," Marcus replied. She hesitated. "Not everyone sees that right away." Marcus looked around the room. "Sometimes people need an example." At the counter, the manager watched Marcus more carefully now. Not with doubt, but with thought. A few minutes passed. Marcus finished his coffee. He reached for his wallet, then stopped. The door chimed again. Ethan stepped back inside. His face looked unsure, but determined. Marcus stood at once. "Everything okay?" Ethan nodded, then shook his head. "I forgot something." "What's that?" Ethan held out a folded paper. "My parents taught me to say thank you properly." Marcus took it carefully. Inside was a small drawing. A table. Two people sitting across from each other. One smiling big, one smiling soft. Above it, in uneven letters, were 3 words. "Thank you, sir." Marcus swallowed. "This means a lot." Ethan smiled. "You made my day better." Marcus knelt slightly so they were eye level. "You did the same for me." A woman at a nearby table wiped her eyes. She leaned toward her friend. "That's what kindness looks like." The manager stepped forward. "Hey kid," he said gently. "Anytime you need a place here, you're welcome." Ethan looked surprised. "Really? Really?" the manager said. Ethan glanced at Marcus, then nodded. "Thank you." When Ethan left again, this time people smiled at him. Not out of pity, out of respect. Marcus returned to his seat, but he did not open his book. He thought about how one question had shifted an entire room. "Can I share this table?" Brick walked in then. Big frame, calm eyes. "You look thoughtful," Brick said. "I am," Marcus replied. "Met someone who reminded me what matters." Brick nodded. "That happens." Marcus showed him the drawing. Brick smiled. "That kid's going places." Sophie brought over 2 fresh coffees without asking. "On the house," she said, "for setting a good tone today." Marcus nodded in thanks. Outside, the street moved on. Inside, something stayed. People spoke softer. They held doors longer. They noticed who was standing alone. Marcus leaned back and exhaled. He realized something simple and powerful. Respect grows fast when someone plants it first. And today, a small voice had started something bigger than anyone expected. The cafe slowly returned to its rhythm. Marcus stayed longer than planned. He watched people talk. He noticed small things. A chair pulled out. A door held open. A smile shared without reason. Brick sipped his coffee. "That kid changed the room," he said. Marcus nodded. "He reminded us who we want to be." Brick leaned back. "Sometimes it takes a quiet voice to wake people up." The afternoon passed. The sun lowered. Shadows stretched across the floor. Marcus stood to leave. As he reached the door, Sophie called out, "Marcus." He turned. "You're welcome here any time," she said. "Not just for coffee." Marcus smiled. "I'll remember that." Outside, the air was cooler. He walked toward his bike, then paused. Across the street, Ethan stood with an older woman. She spoke softly to him. She adjusted his backpack strap. She smiled with care. Ethan noticed Marcus and waved. Marcus lifted his hand in return. The woman looked over and nodded, grateful. Marcus felt something warm settle in his chest. Later that evening, Marcus rode through the city streets. The noise faded as he headed home. His thoughts stayed with the cafe. At a stoplight, a young man approached him. "Hey," the man said. "I saw what you did earlier." Marcus tilted his head. "I just listened." The man nodded. That mattered. The light changed. Marcus rode on. The next morning, Marcus returned to the Copper Bean. He was early. The place was quiet. The manager greeted him with a nod. "Morning." "Morning," Marcus replied. He sat at the same table. Minutes later, the door chimed. Ethan stepped inside with the same woman from before. He spotted Marcus and smiled wide. "Hi," Ethan said. "Hi," Marcus replied. The woman stepped forward. "I wanted to thank you," she said. "He talked about you all night." Marcus shook his head. "He did the hard part." Ethan climbed into the chair across from him. "I told her about the table." Marcus smiled. "It's a good table." Sophie brought over hot chocolate without asking. Ethan wrapped his hands around the cup. "It feels easier today," he said. Marcus nodded. "That's what kindness does. It opens doors." The manager walked by. "Need anything?" Ethan smiled up at him. "No, thank you." Marcus watched the room again. People noticed Ethan now. Not with curiosity, with acceptance. Marcus leaned back. He realized something important. Change does not always arrive loudly. Sometimes it walks in quietly and asks a simple question. And when someone answers with respect, everything else follows. The morning light filled the cafe one last time. Marcus and Ethan sat at the same table. The room felt calm, familiar. People passed by and smiled as they walked in. Some nodded at Marcus. Some waved at Ethan. Ethan finished his drink and looked around. "It feels different now." Marcus nodded. "It does." Ethan thought for a moment. "I used to think places decided who belonged." Marcus listened. "But now I think people do," Ethan said. "By how they treat each other." Marcus smiled. "That's a lesson some adults never learn." Sophie came by with a small paper bag. "I packed you something for later," she said to Ethan. "Just in case." Ethan's eyes widened. "Thank you." "You're welcome," she said. "Come back soon." The manager stepped over. "You're always welcome here," he said to Ethan. "And you too, Marcus." Marcus stood and shook his hand. "Appreciate that." Outside, the street was busy. Cars passed. People hurried. Ethan paused at the door and turned back. "Can I ask you something?" "Always," Marcus said. "Why did you say yes?" Ethan asked. "When I asked about the table." Marcus took a breath. "Because everyone deserves a place to sit. And because asking takes courage." Ethan nodded. "I'll remember that." Marcus knelt slightly. "And remember this too. Your voice matters. Even when it's quiet." Ethan smiled. A confident smile. They stepped outside together. At the corner, Ethan's guardian waited. She waved and thanked Marcus again. Ethan gave Marcus a quick hug. "See you soon." "See you," Marcus said. Ethan walked away with steady steps. His head was up. His pace was sure. Marcus watched until he disappeared down the street. He felt lighter than he had in years. Marcus climbed onto his bike. He did not rush. He took one last look at the cafe window. Inside, a new customer stood uncertain near the door. Sophie noticed and smiled. "You can sit anywhere you like," she said. Marcus smiled to himself. He rode off as the city moved around him. One simple question had changed a day. One kind answer had changed many. And it all began when a boy found the courage to ask, "Can I share this table?"